Well, thank you for having me, Sandra. I'm so excited to be here today for this wonderful online conference that you're giving. And thank you, everybody who's here to learn more about Reiki for dogs. I'm going to give a little introduction to Reiki for dogs. And really what we're going to be talking about is meditating with your canine friends for healing. And just to give you guys a little kind of inspiration as we get started, I want to ask you this question. What if just a few minutes a day could change your life with your dog? And this is what we're talking about with the practice of Reiki. And in the case of Reiki with dogs, we're talking about meditating with your dogs for healing, for peace, for balance, for harmony. And this is something that doesn't take a lot of time. And actually, your animals, your dogs, will show you that you can meditate sitting, standing, or walking. So you don't have to be sitting. Some of you are like, oh, I can't sit still to do Reiki meditation. You don't have to. You can do it when you're walking your dog. So you can do it when you're standing outside in the backyard and your dog is hanging out with you. You can also do it when you're sitting on your couch in your house. But you have a lot of options with meditation when we're talking about meditating with animals. So today I want to give you a brief introduction to what is Reiki, how it can help your dogs and you. And most importantly, I'm going to give you guys some tools that you can start right now, just a few minutes a day, and literally transform your relationship with your dog for healing. Yay! So I want to start with a brief introduction to Reiki. So I have a picture here. I love this photo because you can really see the connection, the presence, the mindfulness that is happening. This dog and this woman, they are so here now with each other. And that really, to me, is the gift that our animals bring us, is that mindfulness, where we come here to this present moment. They help us forget all of our distractions and all of our worries. When we're with them, we just feel so good, so present, so here. And that is something that the practice of Reiki is also going to do for us. So I want to give you guys just a little bit of background on what is Reiki. And I wanted to stop sharing my screen. How do I do that, Sandra? Did I just do it?
You've done it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay. So what is Reiki? Reiki is actually a Japanese spiritual practice, but if we take a look at the word Rei and Ki, it is two Japanese words put together. Rei meaning spiritual and Ki meaning energy, like life force energy. When you put them together, Reiki, it's like divine, energy of the universe and life energy that we experience on Earth. So really together it means like source energy, the energy of everything. And this is what, quantum physicists are starting to discover about the nature of the universe, that we are all totally connected, that something that looks like a solid is actually like there's space and it's just particles. It's like energetic particles. Energy makes up every single thing in the universe. So we are part of this universe. So of course we also are energy, but we don't always remember that. And that's where the spiritual practice of Reiki comes in. So Reiki comes from Japan. It was started by a man named Mikao Usui in the early 1900s. And he basically created this beautiful system of spiritual development to help us uncover our inner essence, that Reiki inside of us. So we all are part of this universe. Our essence is that connection. How do we remember that? And that's what the practice of Reiki really brings to us. So as I tell my students, when you take a Reiki class, you don't get something new that you never had before, but you find a path home, a path back to your center, a path back to your essence. So like when I look in the mirror, right? If I were to look in the mirror when I was a baby, I would look one way. And then when I was 5, it looked different. And when I was 20, it looked different. and now look different. And then when I'm 80, I look in the mirror, right? Every time I look in the mirror, I change, and yet it's still me, right? So what is that me? What is that essence? That essence that is deeper than my physical body. That is what Reiki is. That's what Reiki represents. And that's what the system of Reiki brings out. And so I tell my students, when you learn Reiki, you learn how to remember your inner essence and shine. Just shine it out in your life. And that brings incredible peacefulness, compassion, comfort, loving kindness, balance, all these good things radiate out into your relationships and everywhere you go in the world. And so Reiki is really about living with more compassion and more loving kindness and more peacefulness and more happiness. That's what the system kind of brings to us. And the key, the cornerstone, the foundation of this system of practice is the practice of mindfulness. The practice of bringing all of our energy here to this moment and being in this moment. And isn't that something that our dogs bring to us? They're already showing us, right? Like, a lot of times we're like distracted and then our dog brings us the ball and we're like, oh, wait. And then we're throwing the ball for our dog and we're like, okay, all my worries went away. I'm just playing, with my dog. This is so beautiful. This is so wonderful, right? So dogs already know the importance and they can see when we need them. They're like, oh no, she's totally distracted. She's worried. She's freaking out. I better bring my ball over and get her back to this moment, right? So what I love about the practice of Reiki is it's like something that we give back to our animals. It's like they are guiding us and showing us, and we're listening. We're like, yeah, gosh, humans get so caught up here. We get so worried. We get so stressed. We get so like distracted, and we're like torn in a million directions because we have so much stuff to do. And our dog's sitting next to us and we don't even notice them because we're like all over the place, right? And we're missing our life, aren't we? And so if we have a life with animals and we practice Reiki every day, your life will totally transform. You will truly be here and be cultivating happiness every day, because happiness is about living each moment really to the fullest and really being here. And so our animals, when we practice Reiki, they're like, oh my God, she's listening to me. She's like working on this. This crazy human is working on this presence. This is fantastic. And they get really drawn to us. They come forward and they're like, yes, come on, let's do this together. So you'll really find a meditation partner with your dog when you bring forth this practice into your life. And the practice that I'm going to teach you today, I'm going to kind of break it up into a couple of parts. But it's going to be something you can start right away. And it just takes a few minutes. And I like you to do it like twice a day, just a few minutes. And what you're doing is you're starting to cultivate this balance within your energy. And it's going to start changing everything and deepening your bond with your dog, which is so awesome that we can do that. So let's talk for a minute about the breath. And get this slide here.
Yeah, just while you get the slide up, I completely agree with what you were saying earlier, just about the animals connecting with you. Like I remember when I was going traveling, I was really doing a lot of meditation, and I find like animals would just start hovering around me. Like dogs would want to jump on me and just kind of get love and connection. And it's because you're in that connection, in that state of peace, that it's kind of emanating outwards, and they want to be a part of that. So like you just said, so connecting together, so they're your meditation partners, and you're just kind of giving and taking from each other. So it's a really beautiful thing to have. But yeah, I'm going to leave the screen to you now, Kathleen, and then we'll continue the chat in a bit. There you go. Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so I want to start with the breath. The breath is the foundation of our meditation practice in Reiki. And I love that because breath really is life. Breath is also kind of a bridge to the spiritual because we know that we need our breath to live, but we can't see it. We can't, well, unless it's really cold. Sometimes we see, like, in cold air, we can see our breath when we're breathing out. But most of the time we don't see it, but we know it's there. We know that it gives us life. It's integral to our physical well-being. And yet it's so mysterious, right? It's just, we don't even think about it. It's just happening. We're just breathing, right? So breath can be a way for us to bring together that idea of the physical and the spiritual, and how do they come together? Because really in this practice, what we're really doing in essence is we're learning how to expand and step into our spiritual power. And we do that not through something super complicated, not through something like, oh my God, I have to have special skills. You know, I can't do Reiki unless I have some kind of psychic ability. No. If you have life and you have breath, then you can begin to practice Reiki right now. Because again, all we're doing is remembering who we are. We're coming home to our center and to our essence. So the first thing I want to do is teach you this Reiki breath. And this breath, I call it the breath of light. And it's something that I teach in every Reiki class. And I even do this like when I have my little monthly talks that I do every month, the Animal Reiki talk. I also do this every month for people who come and want to learn more. So this is a great place for you to start. It's really super powerful. You could just practice this every day for the rest of your life, and you would barely scratch the surface. There's so much here in cultivating your energy and cultivating mindfulness and deepening your bond with your dog. So I invite you guys to practice this. If your dogs are present with you right now, that's totally awesome. If they're not, that's fine too. My dog's in the other room, but dogs feel the energy from a distance. So just setting that intention, you may see them walk into the room with you. You never know. We'll see. Okay. So I always like to start when I do meditation, if I'm sitting or standing or walking, I like to kind of start with a centeredness and bringing my awareness, my intention here in this moment. So I'm going to do Gasho. That's like palms together in front of your heart. And just setting my intention to begin the meditation. And then I'm going to rest my hands on my lap, palms up or palms down, whatever is comfortable. And for this visualization, you're going to imagine that your breath is a beautiful, pure, and clear light. And as you breathe in, imagine the breath can come in through your crown, filling your body all the way to the hara. The hara is your lower belly, so kind of your physical center, your center and connection to earth, your grounding. And so you imagine you can like breathe that light in all the way through your body, all the way to your hara, your lower belly. And then when you breathe out, you're going to imagine that beautiful, pure, and clear light can expand out your skin. So in all directions, behind you, in front of you, beneath you, above you, almost like you're sitting in a Reiki bubble, right? So you breathe out and imagine that light can expand out your skin and into your aura and out into the universe. Okay, so let's practice that again. Breathing in the light through the crown of your head, filling your body all the way to the lower belly, the hara. And breathing out, expanding this light in all directions around you. Breathing in, filling your body with light, connecting to the hara. And breathing out, expanding. And breathing in, connecting. And breathing out, expanding. And then relax your breath and just feel yourself sitting in this beautiful space of light. And feel how your energy has already shifted. Feel how much more present you are, how much more peace. And just imagining that your dog can come and join you in that space if they wish. And then going back into Gasho and taking a moment to thank your dogs for joining you in this space. However they joined is just perfect in this moment. And then setting your intention to finish the meditation and coming back and open your eyes. So that is a very simple meditation. What does the light look like? What if I can't see the light? Blah, blah, blah. People have all these questions. There's no wrong way. If you don't visualize, if you just feel, if you just sense, or if you're just imagining as you breathe, do it organically for you. It's a conscious breathing exercise. And what it does is it helps all of our scattered and dissipated energy that's in every which direction, every which way, it's going to come back to us. We're going to bring it back to us. And as we sit in that light, we remember, I am the light. That is my essence. That is my true self. Okay? So that breath, you don't even have to consciously think of all those things. Just practice the breath. Bring all of your mind and heart to the breath. Very powerful. And I'm going to add something to it for you guys as well. But first, I want to talk about the next thing that we need to think about, which is tuning in to our connection to our dog. And I want you to think about how your dog responds to and reflects your own emotional state. And here, we see, I don't know, it's hard to know. I saw this picture and I thought the dog looked like it was maybe doing a stress yawn or something. It didn't look that chilled or that relaxed. I've seen this sometimes with dogs who don't like to be hugged that much, right? And the person's like, ah, and they're like, yikes. That's what I kind of saw. But I kind of chose this picture because I wanted you to really think about how your dog is affected by your energy. And so if you're really stressed, guess who else is stressed? Your dog. If you're super worried, who else is worried? Your dog. Because they're looking at you to create that space for them. And without meaning to, sometimes we're creating space of stress and worry and fear and all of that for our animals because we're just focused on our own stuff. So Reiki is a way for us to become more mindful about that. And it starts with just going, oh gosh, I'm worried. Maybe I can't let go of the worry right away, but I'm noticing I'm worried. So I'm already putting some space between me and the worry. And the next step will be to let it go. But at least I'm noticing. I'm not just in this reactive state. And my dog's like going, oh my God, mom's so scared. What does this mean, right? So we have to begin to notice that our dogs are very tuned in. And so we need to also tune into them. And what that means is we need to learn how to create a piece of calm presence for our dogs, because just like stress is really contagious, and if we're stressed, our animals will be stressed. In the same way, peace is very contagious. And so when we are grounded and peaceful, that's going to help our dogs. Oh, okay, mom's all right. Yeah, I think it's okay. I can feel that. Or if your dog's not feeling well, they can come sit next to you and be with you because you're like a rock. You're like a mountain. You are stable and strong and grounded, and they can count on that and count on you. So the practice of Reiki is really about, creating space and holding space for your animals. This is always good to do for our dogs when, just on a regular basis. But when they are sick are ailing, or they have they're getting older, they've got some chronic issues, or maybe they've had a surgery and they've got to, recover from, or they've had an illness that they're recovering from, something's going on, it's even more important for us to tune in and realize, okay, I have to let that worry go because I have to be here with my dog right now, just the way they are here for me. I mean, when you think about it, our dogs are already practicing this presence and already hold space for us when we need them. So we should do the same for them. So it's not always easy. So one of the things that I talk about is seeing with Reiki eyes. And let me share this. So what does it mean to see with Reiki eyes? This really means to see with your heart. When I see with my heart, when I'm looking with my eyes, well, let's start with our eyes, okay? When I look with my eyes, often if my dog has a problem, that's what I see. So if my dog gets a diagnosis, every time I look at them, they've got this diagnosis. Or my dog hurts his leg, he has a cast. Every time I look at him, I see the cast, A dog's allergic to food and I've got to figure out a better food. Every time I'm looking at my dog, I'm like, the allergy to the food, And so what happens is, excuse me, energetically, our thoughts are pointing towards a negative and creating more of that kind of negativity. And our dogs feel very sensitive when they notice we're focused on what's wrong with them, because they don't look at us that way. They don't focus on what's wrong with us. They see our light. So when we look at them and see everything that's wrong, it's very stressful for them and they might not want to connect. It may make them really nervous, So we have to let go of that. And so our Reiki practice of meditation helps us to see with our heart. So now, because I'm remembering I am the light, I can look at my dog and I can see they are also the light. And so if I look at my dog and he has, a rash or something that he's working on healing, if I'm looking with my heart, I see past that and I see their beautiful inner light, their essence of being. And that essence is always perfect. It is never diminished, no matter what disease, no matter how old they get, even if they're in transition, if they're dying. That light is always perfect and shining and strong and beautiful. And I really want to see that light whenever I look at my dog. So I'm reflecting back to them. You are the light. That's what I want to bring to my dog. And that's what our Reiki practice brings us. Ultimately, Reiki is a healing practice. But healing means not fixing, not curing, not focusing on what's wrong. Healing means to become whole. And that is possible in each and every moment. We only just have to tap in to that beautiful light inside of us. And we can bring and embrace this moment right here and now, no matter what externally is happening, that cannot touch our inner light. It cannot touch our inner peace. And that kind of stability, to bring that to our dogs, especially when they're struggling, makes all the difference, makes a huge, huge difference to them. So that brings me to the Reiki precepts, because this is the other tool that I'm going to have you practice with me today. The Reiki precepts were created by Miko Usui to be a sort of signpost and guide for us to live a more balanced life. And they are, for today only, do not anger, do not worry, be grateful, work diligently, be kind to others. Now, these sound very simple, but actually if we think about embodying them, that is not so simple, is it? It's a little bit harder. So the embodiment of the Reiki precept is what all of the other techniques you learn in Reiki help us to do, ultimately. The outcome of our practice is that we live these precepts. So The practice, the breath of light practice that you have learned today, that's one of the tools that you learn in Reiki. And that is ultimately helping us let go of our anger, let go of our worry, live with more gratitude, more compassion. And we have to work diligently to do that. We have to practice every day, right? So these precepts keep us on track. Precepts are also wonderful mantras. If we find ourselves stressed, worried, angry, as we all are human, so this happens, to recite the precepts as a mantra in that moment helps us put, again, a little distance between us and that strong emotion. A little distance to us going off the rails. Or if we've fallen out of balance, we notice much more quickly. So the precepts, again, are a different tool, a new tool, to help us cultivate that mindfulness so that we can actually be present here with our dog. We're not being carried away by anger, carried away by worry and fear, right? We are here and now, totally present, okay? So that leads me to the next meditation practice that we're going to do. So with this one, we're going to actually combine the breath of light that we already did together with the Reiki precepts. And I'm going to lead you through this in a minute, but what I'd like you to do after this conference, when you go home with your dogs, actually you're already home with your dogs, but when your dogs come over to you, the best time to do it is in the first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening. So it's the way you start your day, the way you finish your day. It only takes a minute. I'm going to lead you through it in a minute. So you'll see it doesn't take a lot of time. But what this practice does is it brings your energy here to this moment, and it kind of sets an intention for you, an intention for living with balance. That intention is very important as we go out in our day with our dogs and as we finish our day to rest at the end of the day. And if you do this consistently twice a day for 21 days, it will change your energy. It will change the way you react to stress. It will bring so much conscious awareness to how your inner state is affecting your dog and what you can do about it. And you will see your dog coming to you and being drawn to you to hold space for them, especially when they really need it. So it will dramatically reshape your relationship with your dog in a beautiful, incredible way. And, you know, like I said, our dogs are already doing this for us. Isn't the least we can do is return the favor when they need us? So let's start practicing and you will see such a huge shift. Okay, so let's do this practice together. Okay, so I want you to go into Gasho again. Again, Gasho is just a way to kind of symbolize balance, harmony, mindfulness, bringing all my attention here to this moment. So I'll set my intention to do this meditation. Another thing I like to say when I meditate is that I dedicate all the energy of this practice to my dog. And I invite my dog to share this space with me if they wish. That's really important that we don't force anything on them. They can leave the room if they like. They can just not participate, but we invite them to share this meditation. Okay. Then rest your hands on your lap, palms up or palms down, and we're just going to recite the precepts again. So I'll speak them. You can recite them along with me if you like. You remember them. For today only, do not anger. Do not worry. Be grateful. Work diligently. Be kind to others. And now we're going to add 5 of those breaths of light. Okay, so do you remember that? So you imagine your breath is a beautiful, pure, and clear light. And as you breathe in, you bring that breath in through the crown of your head, filling your body all the way to the lower belly. And as you breathe out, expand that light in all directions, out your skin, into your aura, and into the universe. And breathing in, filling your body with light, connecting to the hara. And breathing out, expanding this light in all directions. And breathing in, filling your body with light, connecting to the lower belly, the hara. And breathing out, expanding out your skin into the universe. And breathing in, connecting, breathing out, expanding. And breathing in, connecting, and breathing out, expanding. So we do just a few breaths. I think I did 5. Do just a few breaths like this. Feel yourself sitting in this beautiful light. You are the light. And then recite the precepts again for today only. Do not anger. Do not worry. Be grateful. Work diligently. Be kind to others. Then we go back into Gasho. And thank your dogs for joining you in this if they did. Whatever way they joined you is just perfect. And setting your intention to finish. Take a nice deep breath. Slowly come back and open your eyes. So can you feel how just a couple of minutes can totally change your energy? This is a great practice to do twice a day, but it's a great practice to do anytime you feel stressed, you find yourself kind of off, a little bit off. You're having a difficult day, you're facing something. A wonderful thing for you to do at that time, as you start to get out of balance, bring yourself back. I can't emphasize enough how much this will change your relationship with your dog, because what you're doing is bringing all your energy from out there, bringing it here. And so you're going to be able to be more present with your dog, to enjoy each moment with your dog, much more so than when we're in our typical human state, which is not always most balanced. So I want to share one more slide with you. Final slide today. And that is remembering all is well. I think one of the most important things about Reiki is that it reminds us that that space of wellness is always accessible, that space of peace within us, that space of light within us. It is not dependent on our outer circumstances. It's something that we can always access. And when we find that within ourselves, we can share it with our dogs. They look to us. They take their key off of us, off of our energy. So if we're constantly reminding them, all is well, no matter what's happening and what's going on, all is well in this moment. It's incredibly healing. It's actually the most healing power that we have, is to offer the animals we love this kind of compassionate, open-hearted presence. We're not focusing on what's wrong. We're not trying to fix and running around worried about this and that. We're just saying, I'm here with you now, in this moment, whatever it looks like, without judgment, and all is well. So I hope that this has been helpful for you guys, and I'd love if there are any questions. If you guys want to pop into the chat and type any questions that you might have for me about Reiki for dogs. How many of you know Reiki already? Perhaps some of you already might know Reiki. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Any questions that came up?
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Sandra.
Yeah, no, I have a question. I know there'll probably be more. It was just going back to, like, I know we've spoken about this on our last call, but it was like what you said today. The important thing is asking for permission, and then just making sure that pets decide to stay and not kind of forcefully keeping them there. And what's your, like, what do you do to kind of set that? I know you do the meditation, but what do you do in preparation for the Reiki? Is it just the meditation? Is there anything you do
So
before or after?
that's a great question. That's a great question. And I kind of see it in stages, right? So the first thing I usually teach my students at the beginning when they're first learning is how to ask permission, because normally we just help our animals because we know what to do. We know what they need. Here's the food that you need. You need to do this exercise. Okay, you got to take this pill, right? We're like the caretaker, we know. So we're like, okay, you need Reiki. I'm doing Reiki to you now. So just the idea of asking permission helps put in our mind, wait, this is their choice? Interesting. And why is that important? Because Reiki doesn't work if the animal's not open to it. And in fact, if we're pushing our will on the animal, that can be really uncomfortable for them, and we can actually drive them away. We're pushing our will. So you can't like force Reiki on an animal, because Reiki is really heart-to-heart connection. So if their heart's not open, they're just going to be like, no thanks. But we can push our will, and it can be very invasive and uncomfortable. And especially if you have a rescued animal who's had a traumatic past, we never want to push on their sensitivities. We always want to remind them that, this is completely up to you. So the first way I present it is asking permission. And that's just as easy as, would you like some Reiki? I'm going to sit down and do my meditation. And then really focusing inward on the meditation and not outward pushing anything on the animal, but really just like focusing on the breath. That's it. Yeah. Not like thinking, okay, I'm pushing the light towards you, but really finding the light inside, that asking of permission, it evolves into the way that I set the intention in this meditation today. And that is just really inviting the animal. So saying I'm doing this meditation, and I invite you to join if you wish, but it's totally up to you. So that is a way of setting your energy in a permission kind of a way. You're not like directing the energy. You're like sitting back. Like some people think this is Reiki for dogs, but I see it that this is Reiki for dogs. And then they just come forward if they wish. And if not, that's okay too. So kind of letting go of our expectations about, what should they do? How should they be acting? The biggest thing to me, if your dog wants to join you, is they'll come into the room or they'll come sit next to you. They'll show some sign of connection with you and interest, and they'll relax. It's that sort of engagement and then relaxation that shows that they're participating. And if they go, not today, and they walk out, that's also good because you gave them that choice. So then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just going to do this for me because I need this.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll just check if there's any other questions. Let's have a look. I presume that the dogs have
that's a great question about dogs that have passed.
So
in energy, everything is one. We are all connected in energy. So it doesn't matter if they're in the physical, in the spiritual, they are energy. And so when we sort of invite our animals in, that's a spiritual invitation, and that is not limited to dogs in the physical or dogs sitting next to you. It could be you're on a trip and your dog's across the world. It's all one. It's all here energetically, and that's something that I go into more with the training. And there's questions about where you can learn more. My website is animalreikisource.com. I have a booth with a little video to watch and a special coupon if you want to take my Reiki for Dogs class. So be sure to check out that booth if you're interested. I have articles. I have a lot of books on Amazon about this. I have a meditation journal on Amazon. It's a fill-in meditation journal that can help you walk you through this in meditation style if you like to write. So check that out on Amazon as well. Lots of resources for you guys.
No, there was another question, and it was related to fears. Do you do different meditations? Like, I know it's connected with the Reiki and connecting to yourself, but do you have like different meditations depending on what you're trying to achieve? Or do you kind of just always do that connection to yourself and then do the visualization? What can people do?
We do have a lot of different tools that you learn in Reiki. So in Reiki 1, you learn a bunch of different exercises, and some are like visualizations, some are breathing exercises, some are more mantra exercises. In level 2, you learn some chanting and some symbols and mantras that you can use as well. But we never direct a specific exercise for a specific issue. Because why? Because then what are we focused on?
The issue itself.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
And outcome. So now I'm in there fixing it with this or that. Okay, here's the problem. Now I can fix it. And remember, what we're trying to achieve is wholeness. And wholeness is possible in every moment. So we have to remember that. Now, scientifically, Reiki has been shown to activate the parasympathetic response. That's our rest and digest response. You know, like we can be fight or flight or rest and digest. And when we're fight or flight, then that's really washing our cells in all these stress chemicals and everything. So when we are fully rested, then all of our self-healing abilities come out. All of our cells are washed in healing. We are self-healing miracles. Our body is a machine of self-healing.
Yeah.
So what Reiki does is create that parasympathetic response so that our bodies can heal themselves. So that's what our goal is every time, is to create that peaceful space. We have a lot of different tools in the system of Reiki to do that. What tool you choose is really what resonates. And I find Usui, who started the system of Reiki, was a great teacher, because we have like auditory tools. We have symbols you can look at if you're a really visual person. We have, you know, the chanting for the vibration, and kinesthetic learner. We have walking meditations if you need to move. So there's kind of like, there's a learning style for every person. So you'll learn a bunch of different things in a certification class, and then you'll kind of pick and choose the ones that really help get you in that space. Because once you're in that space, you can share it.
Yeah, agreed. I do find that when I'm doing like the dog training, one of the things I do is actually visualize the behavior that I kind of want the dog to have. So if the dog's fearful or stressful, I'll go in there thinking, okay, I'll have the mental image, just because I do like to think in images. And then I'm also connecting to myself. But what I notice is that the dogs, when they're close to me, they'll react differently to when they're close to their pet parents. So it's quite interesting how the energy can really affect the animal's behavior. And then you do find that they'd want to be near you, just because you're feeling that connection and the gratitude and just being in connection with yourself. So yeah, it's actually quite amazing how even those fears and anxieties can disappear just by you connecting to yourself. I also find, I don't know if you think this is the case, because I know you also do work at shelters and stuff. But for example, do you find that you also feel what the animal's kind of feeling, like if they've got pains and aches in certain parts of the body, or do you, because I know you do that, right?
That's something that depends on, you know, the practitioner. I myself is an empath. I'm an empath. So even before I did Reiki, I would like feel other people's feelings and emotions, and I would get a migraine if I was in a room with an angry person. So I've always been really sensitive to energy. So when I started practicing Reiki, that manifested in that I could sense and feel, like I would feel pain in my hands or pain in my knee if they had pain somewhere, or I might get a stomach ache or feel nauseous if they were having digestive issues. So it was kind of like disconcerting at first, but then I realized it's like an echo. They call it in Japanese a hibiki, and it's really an echo or resonance of their experience, but it's not my experience. And what I've found too, which is really interesting, is normally if I'm sitting with an animal and suddenly I sense something, and sometimes I also get like a flash of the past. And for me, it's like something that happened to them, like abuse or, something traumatic,
Yeah.
which is not very pleasant, but that's just when I'm connected, I'll sense that. But what I've learned over the years is it means they're letting it go. So it's almost like I see it as it's on its way out healing. And
Amazing.
so that's really helped a lot. I don't have to do anything with that or worry about it. I just notice and say, thank you. That means they're connected and they're sharing this with me. Thank you. I'm thankful. And then I'm like grateful because their energy is shifting and they're healing it, whatever it is. And somebody asked about projecting energy to the animal. I never do that. Animals are very sensitive to thoughts, just like they are touch. Same. So if I touch an animal or if I think about sending the energy to the animal, I've been across the room from a cat, and in the early days, I would beam energy to the cat, and the cat would be sitting there, and they'd be like, get up and leave the room, like, what is wrong with you? Cats were really the ones that taught me that, because dogs are so much more forgiving. But I realized, wow, my thoughts are, it's like I'm poking them with my thoughts. So what I teach my students now is through meditation to keep your mind still, like the top of a pond. A pond that has no ripples and you can see the sky like perfectly reflected in it. It's perfect. That's how we want our mind to be. We want our mind as still as that surface of that pond. And within that, do I touch the animal? Only if they come to me. I may be sitting or standing or walking with them, but I will respond to them if they come to me. Some animals will fall into my lap and I can rest my hands in them. But the Reiki is not about the hands. Reiki is about touching hearts.
Yeah, I also had that look, but it was from my dog. It was in the month before he passed away. And it was like, I really wanted to help him because he wasn't feeling well and he was just not having it. So for me, it was like really frustrating because I was like, look, let me help you. But he was like, no, and he was happy to transition. Like he literally, he just died within a couple of days. But it's amazing because he did want to spend that time with me when I was connected to myself. But as soon as I was trying to invade his energy, it was like the whip of the head was like so fast. And it was like, do not even go there. So it was, for me, it was like letting go of that idea of trying to put something on him and force him to receive the healing. And he was like, he taught me that as well. Like, don't force it on me. So I think that's something.
Such an important lesson.
Yeah.
That's why I call the method of Animal Reiki that I've created, I call it Let Animals Lead. Because I've learned over the years, I've been doing this since 1998, so 22 years. And I've learned over the years that the animals know so much more about energy and about everything energetic, including the dying process. They know so much more than I ever could. When I'm with them, I need to recognize that mastery that they hold, that I'm only just trying to learn. And I have to try really hard and meditate and really like let go of stuff. But animals just are like gurus of that. So when I approach animals with that realization and understanding, show me, teach me, then they're like, okay, come on in, let's do this, and like your dog taught you a lot about what it means, to transition, what it means to let go of the physical, I don't need your help. I know how to walk this journey, and this journey is normal and natural, and we don't need to fight it. Let's just walk in peace together. Like such important lessons. And I always think of my dogs who have passed, who've taught me so much about transition. It's like they're, in a way, like they're helping me with mine. Someday I'm going to face that. And all of their faces will be around me, reminding me, this is how you do it. It's so beautiful. They're amazing.
And it's quite amazing because there is this sense of like peace right at the end. And you're like, how is it possible that they're so, and it feels like they're in a heightened state where it doesn't even feel like they're there, but it feels like they're 100% present. I don't know. It's the weirdest feeling ever. And I know like you guys out there, if you ever had a pet that's passed away, you know what I mean. But it's like, it's really disconcerting for us as humans, but then they're just like, that's it. They've just given themselves into the process. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
think,
I see it that they're coming into their fullness
yeah,
because
yeah.
their whole life they were stuck in this dog body. So they had all this wisdom to share, but only as much as humans listen to them. And a lot of humans
Mm,
don't listen to them.
yeah,
So as soon as they leave this like limited physical body, they step into the fullness of the universe, the fullness of their wisdom, the fullness of their understanding, and to me, even the fullness of their support for us. Like I
hmm,
still feel my animals who've passed are with me and guiding me and helping me. Like that energy, it never dies. That love,
yeah.
that connection, it's always there, and it's almost in a way stronger after they've gone because they become so expansive, so beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. Did anyone have any? I was going to say fireworks, just because I read
Yes,
fireworks.
I saw that.
This is CBD works miracles with fireworks. Yeah, I have heard that as well. Does anyone have
With
any?
with the fireworks thing,
Yeah.
you do just the breathing. Just sit and do the breathing, and you're just reminding them all is well, all is well, and your
Hmm.
energy is calm, and you're like all is well, and then they can choose to step in. Now, do they choose to step into the space? Well, remember, we're leaving it up to them. But
Yeah.
on the whole, they don't want to be
Hmm.
stressed. They don't want to be out of
Yeah.
balance. They don't want to be panting and hiding, in the bathtub or something. They want to be calm. And so if you provide that space for them, most likely they will choose it.
Hmm. Just something as a dog trainer and behaviorist, I do find that a lot of people have the tendency to want to kind of hold their pet and just pet them, and what I've noticed is that actually has a negative impact on the pet, because it's not the pet that actually wants to be petted or the dog that wants to be petted. It's we're kind of thinking, oh, we're going to help them as we would with like a child. We kind of get that sense of wanting to help the dog out, thinking that that's actually beneficial. But just going back to what you just said, Kathleen, I find that that does work, because when I'm going there and petting the dog when it's stressed, I'm actually confirming that he should be scared or she should be scared, that there is a big issue that's happening and we need to do something about it. So it actually tends to, well, it does amplify the fear. But then when you're actually no longer focusing on the fear and trying to make the dog feel better, because that's kind of our limited thinking, oh, what can we do to help make him feel better? And we'll do what we usually do with a child or with someone else. But when we actually focus on ourselves and then do the breathing and just maybe meditate, you do find that the dog actually starts to come close, but it doesn't come close in that needy way or the way that we think they need. So it's kind of like, I want to share this with you, and they may still feel anxious or stressed or scared, but you'll notice that with time that actually disappears because you're not reacting to their behavior. You're not amplifying the behavior. So, Kathleen, can you just say a little more about what you've seen at the shelters? Because I know they do have lots of issues with anxiety and fears and isolation issues.
Uh-oh.
So, what have you seen that's worked the best? Yeah.
You froze for a second. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Yeah, I
I
can.
did.
Did you hear the
Actually,
question?
my first work in the
Okay. Yeah.
beginning was with shelter dogs, because when I first learned Reiki, I was walking dogs at a local shelter in San Francisco, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they would let me
Yeah.
practice Reiki after I walk the dogs. And then I would walk the dogs, and they said, sure. We don't
Mm.
know what it is, but sounds like it might help them. So, they're very open, which is nice. And so I would
Yeah.
walk the dog,
Yeah.
and then I'd bring them. We have a little private yard, and I would sit and I'd do Reiki. And it was really interesting
Mm-hmm.
because the dogs would,
Mm-hmm.
they would be circling and sniffing and running around. And then they'd be like, and they'd come over and they like lay down next to me and just be like sacked out. It's so exhausting to be in a secure
Mm-hmm.
environment, right?
Yeah.
I had other
Yeah.
dogs who,
Yeah.
I had one
Yeah.
dog I remember, so beautiful. He had just gone through surgery and had one of his back legs amputated. And so he was learning how to limp around. He didn't care much. He's like, whatever, I'm fine, But I sat down to
Yeah.
do the meditation, and he was walking around sniffing, and then he kind of turned and looked at me, and then he turned around and he came to me, and then he turned around and he backed in, and he slowly lowered himself so that his little surgery site was literally right in my lap. And then he put his head down on the ground like this,
Wow.
and his eyes were open. He was totally aware and completely present, but he's like, yeah. So, and then I've had, other experiences where I'll sit in the aisle. Like, I don't work one-on-one with the dogs, so I'll sit in the aisle where all the dogs are, and I'll go in there and, barking and crazy. I have a video of this on my YouTube, and I'll just sit and do the meditation, and the barking gets less, and the pacing kind of stops, and then silence. Like, you could hear a pin drop. And if I open my eyes and look, the dogs are laying down or sitting, but they're totally close to me as possible. And they're like, and then some of them are sleeping. And it's really interesting to see that change between like raucous and to like calm. And it's because, they don't want to be stressed. They don't want to be in that heightened state of like, they want to relax and rest. So Reiki is like an irresistible space. And the other great thing is, which I do through SARA, Shelter Animal Reiki Association, which is my nonprofit. We actually, I train my students as practitioners and teachers to go into the shelters and sanctuaries in their area and not only volunteer Reiki for the animals, many of whom have been traumatized, and they just step in and go, oh, thank God, they rest for the first time, but also for the staff, because that job, you're on the front lines of animal abuse every day, and that job burns people out, and there's a lot of compassion fatigue. And so you learn also in Reiki how to do Reiki for people. And so you can go in and do Reiki for the staff to help support them, to help them get a moment of peace and calm and grounding in their day. And then you can go in and do Reiki for the animals and see like immediate relaxation responses. It's such a blessing to go to those places and see the change.
Yeah, it is amazing. I know they do that a lot in the UK, Dogs Trust, and there's another one, and I know like I took part in doing that as well, and they do bring practitioners in every week, and it makes a huge difference. Yes, I'll just have a look to see if there are any other questions. Does anyone want to come on screen and speak to Kathleen on screen? Let's see. Kathleen, in the situation. So Zoe just says, how would you approach reassuring a dog that's scared of fireworks? But you've answered that, so it'd be with the breath work. That's the most effective one.
Same. Whatever the issue, whether they have a physical issue, an emotional issue, just it's finding that peacefulness within yourself so that you can be the rock for your animal, be the mountain, and then inviting them to step into that space. So again, not beaming energy to them, pushing energy, not if your dog has a sore leg, not going over and putting your hands on it and trying to beam into it, but sitting back this way and creating that space. And imagine it's like you're sitting in this golden bubble of light and peace and healing and like perfect comfort. And then you're like, come join me. And then they're like, no, thanks. Or they're like, yeah, but it's up to them. It's so much more powerful. This was my Let Animals Lead practice evolved over many years. And it was like, I got to the point where I'm like, why don't they want Reiki? I'm chasing after them. Come get healed. What's wrong with you? And at some point I'm like, why don't they like Reiki? And it's not the Reiki, it's my approach. My approach was too intense. It was too directed. I had all these expectations. I demanded that they behave in a certain way. I wanted to touch them. And, for a lot of animals who have been abused, hands are not a healing prospect. Hands abuse. So I had to find a way to offer Reiki that would never offend an animal, that would never scare an animal, that would never be invasive to an animal, and that empowered them to lead their own connection. And that's why my focus of my teachings is the meditation aspect of Reiki. Not every Reiki lineage teaches that. And especially if you do human Reiki, it's touch-based because we're tactile creatures. That's how we sense energies, through touch. But with animals, it was important to me to meet them where they are, and to find, maybe it was harder for me to sense energy without touch, but it wasn't about me. It was about them. So that's what kind of evolved the approach. And that's why it's totally meditation-based. That's why I learned to let go of focusing on what was wrong, because I had enough animals to turn and leave. I've got to get my brain back. I've got to get my mind in the right space if I want them to choose to come forward. And that's really what I teach in my classes, is how to create this space that's respectful for other animals. And to me, really the only ethical way that we should be approaching them with. They're so sensitive to energy. We can't just come bumbling in there, as like a steamroller, like humans often do. We have to take a more gentle approach. We owe it to them.
And it's that non-invasiveness that makes a big difference. Any other questions before we wrap up? Like Kathleen said, she's got lots of resources and videos on her website. When did you say the next course
I have a ton of courses. The next live Zoom course I'm doing, a level 1 certification, starts in January. But I have a lot of on-demand courses on my site as well. And some of them, like the Reiki for Dogs course is a 5-week audio course based on my book, Reiki for Dogs. And it teaches a ton of meditations and how to connect with your dog. And it talks about all the stuff we talked about today, like in a lot more depth. So there's a variety of ways for you to connect with me. I'm also on social media. The first Tuesday of every month, I do an Animal Reiki talk, which is a free talk and meditation. So visit my website, animalreikisource.com, sign up for my newsletter there, and connect with me on social media. And I'm here for you guys.
So thank you so much again. And I'll hope to see you soon. All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, Kathleen. Bye, everyone.